Greetings, Marsh here, and welcome to episode 168 of my modded Factorio playthrough. In this episode, we're going to work on smelting our aluminum in a more efficient way. Enjoy. And this first part is going to be very similar with the faster machines and the faster modules, that it'll basically be good to go. So a lot of this stuff can probably just be upgraded in place here. So lots of speed modules, and then we need 3 belts going in and 3 going out. Well, we can kind of do that. Let's pick all this up, where we have a stack inserter going onto the first belt. And because of the odd number of them, let's get rid of that one. And actually, wait a second. Do we have long-handed inserters? Or I should say extra long. So I've really been waiting for those. Aw, man, they're still kind of buried a little bit. It's not that we need this technology for the inserters, so we could kind of grind our way down there, but that's okay. We can make do without them. So there's the FARs with the near inserters. And then we need to do the extra FAR. Make those ones near. That one near. And this last one. Oh, but I think I got this a little backwards, where we want this one to be at the bottom. It's the final machine here that needs to help max out these belts. And actually, I wonder if having a nice storehouse right here would help. Because those could go in. We'll limit this guy to 1 square. And we'll just have 3 inserters right there at the end, dumping into there as required. Kind of need to move some of this stuff around, but we can do something like that. And we got throughput issues here, where we're going to need to have 3 inserters on each machine. And there's just barely enough room for these undergrounds in here. There we go. We kind of need the same thing going on here. Where we have regulars, long, and then the extra longs. Just let those grind through. I think that's pretty good. Now we need to do these powder mixers. Not much room left, so we probably want to smash it in there. But how many do we have here? 16. It looks like we can just jam a bunch in there. So do we have a better pattern? This right here might be. So we'll need something like this. But we do have different logistics requirements, so it might be worth... Hey, they're finally made the invar request. Does that mean that research is going pretty good? Yeah, it's getting there. It's just about gone through the buffer. I suppose that means we should add more research to test it completely. Well, let's do the biological and flammables. But so far, so good. Okay, well, we're going to do these actually fairly similar. Yeah, so let's grab... And then we could do like 3 groups of 8. Yeah, we need to put this somewhere, but whatever. Let's just plop it right there. Because we're going to have 2 inputs. However, 2 groups of machines can share the same input. They just need their own output. And let's invert these to make them look nice and symmetrical. There we go. And then we'll just need a 3rd one on the end. So as far as inserters go, yellow in and the red out. And I think that's pretty good. Well, let's let this completely run. So there we go. Here's some of the setup. Let's just leave a little bit of space. How about like right here? Although that is so close to being straight. Let's just make it straight. Because that can be straight like that. And then we need one more set of machines. Right here. Hey, look at that. Some manganese is making its way down for more efficient aluminum production. And I'm looking at the numbers. They're all looking pretty good. They keep going down, basically, and that's a good sign that all of the buffers are getting worked through. The only thing that's left is that nickel, and I'm thinking that it will eventually work its way down as well. Okay. Then we can swing off the side for the carbon, but we also have to do these ore processors. And we need 14 point something of them. Actually, we can just grab an existing setup here. Like this. And we can try to line it up. That might be kind of difficult, but I'll give it a shot. Actually, I think that's it. I don't know how those belts are going to work out, but whatever. So let's switch all these to aluminum. Actually, could probably change the way these are stacked, but I'll just leave it like it is, so it's similar to everything else. We're only doing 2 belts as opposed to 3. So this could be made to be more narrow. And it looks like we need, surprise, stack inserters. And of course, red belts. See, because of the position of this warehouse, that makes that a little annoying. But actually, I think it'll work. We do something like this. Then have the outputs kind of squiggle around there. And then the yellow outputs will continue to work fine here. Although, it might help just to make them red. They don't have to be, but it might help with balancing. And since we're going from 2 belts to 3, let's do a warehouse balancer, so we don't have to make the old-fashioned kind. Limit to 1 stack. Then have those outputs go out. Well, we can probably test this part at least. I see it wasn't quite a full train of glass. So, does that mean that something's going a little slow? What? Uh-oh. That's not good. This train's not done yet. Let's see, so it would be going there. It's probably going to 2 separate places, is my guess. Because this one's 16,000 short, so what's that other train doing there? That's odd. Where it's 2 trains with the same shipment. I kind of want to see where this train goes. I mean, it's almost certainly going to go to science, right? Yeah. So why did it order 2? I don't know. I thought all these had a limitation of 1 train per station. Okay, looks like we made an aluminum request. And there is... Ah! That was close. I'm not wearing the armor that protects me from trains. Anyway, I was saying that I thought all these stations were set to, yeah, a maximum of 1 train per station. I am thoroughly confused. I feel like this is kind of important to pay attention to, because I really want to know why it made a second request. Because it's ordering another 16,000, but it's not even going to fit. Well, luckily they get loaded quickly. I mean, just having 1 train sit on the main line for a minute or 2 isn't the worst thing, but it's definitely wrong. So I want to find out why it did that. And probably should keep doing research so this process continues. Let's see, more laser, more explosives. I think that's, yeah, that's it for the repeatables, at least for that we can do right now. But we don't have to do military stuff, technically. I was just doing that to make the nickel go down. Okay, so this was being sent here. The logic request for glass is negative 256 stacks. So you include those together, that means we have about 10,000. Well, I wonder if it made that request based on a prediction of when it would need it. Because now that you're looking at it, this train's about to be unloaded, and now suddenly it has room for the glass again. So I am confused. It seems to be working, so I guess there isn't too much to be worried about. We'll just have to see if it causes more problems in the future. But science is doing pretty good. Those machines are mostly green. It's not quite using up the science at the rate it can produce it, but it doesn't look like there's any shortages. Everything's keeping up. But I think we're about to run out of aluminum, right? Yeah, we're about to run out of aluminum here, so this whole process is going to stop. That's okay. We can upgrade it. I don't know if I can hop on a moving train here. Yoink. Got it. And, we're short on copper now. That's an interesting thing to be short on. Oxygen is running out. So does that mean all of this is making oxygen and it's not enough? Well, no. Some of them are clogged. Hydrogen gas. I mean, it's going. It's just, the throughput rate is so high that it's having trouble ejecting all of that. And we have oxygen. It's just really far away. Well, let's put a pressurization pump in here along the way somewhere. We want to go as far back as we can to where the first method of production exists. Let's see, it looks like it's right here is the first point which it's actually being produced. Guess we'll find out if this is the incorrect location to put this, because it's going to cause problems by putting a pump here and making the flow one way. But hopefully that'll help it a little bit. Only kind of. Well, with these flow rates, we might have to start doing something a little differently. Besides, I mean, this is basically almost running at full power anyway, and it can barely keep up. That's one other way we can look at this. So that's 2.3K a second of oxygen that it can consume. Well, I mean, it can consume all of it. We just need to get it up there. But has putting that pump there help copper any? It looks like it has. At least to some extent. It's not great, but there's one other thing we can do when it comes to the hydrogen. And that's have a separate pipe for each set of machines. Because right now, a lot of it's just kind of going up here and getting combined. And that's probably not very good. So let's let that go up. But I have a couple different pipes, and we probably want an all-corners tank here. A lot of this stuff's going to be kind of in the way. But we can pull off from over here. And go in there, and this next one we'll do something similar. Except take a different slot on the tank. But we got one right there. And then one right here. I think that connects them all. Seems like it. You can see that these tanks are maxing out quickly. And oxygen is still getting clogged a little bit. Did that number just click up a bit? Come on, you know you can click up one more. Do it. Well, it's not convincing me that this is enough production because it's not really changing. Well, one other aspect is the needs of the factory aren't very high, which that could be why this isn't consuming it very fast. Just because the factory doesn't need the power, and if it doesn't need the power, then there's nothing we can really do about it. So I think we've pushed this as far as we could. I mean, beyond this, we would just have to dump it, and to have that logic, would require some special considerations. But how is the copper doing? Better. But still kind of stuck. Well, there's our last little bit of research. Let's see what science looks like. Well, it stopped because no aluminum. But this is decently good. A lot of these machines are running. So it's not terrible, but I think that in a future expansion of this, that because of the quantity of hydrogen that's being produced, that each one of these setups needs its own hydrogen burner. It's kind of like how these little saline water clarifiers are kind of scattered all over the place based on where they're needed. Well, it's kind of the same thing here, where we have our one setup burning the hydrogen, but because it's far away from some of these, that it just doesn't work very well. So it would be better to have a smaller setup attached to each subgroup of electrolyzers. But we'll have to see if this works. That was a good test. It's nice to know that it's a little lacking, but still functional. So for now, I'm okay leaving it like it is. The bus is still doing quite nicely, which is cool to see, especially that we're building up on manganese. I almost want to test to see what it would be like if we disconnected the iron from the manganese output, because the way it's set up now is if we don't have an aluminum request, then iron is going to take all the manganese up, which is fine, but if we're not producing very much manganese, then it's possible that we can use 100% of its output to improve aluminum production, which would be more desirable if possible. So let's unhook it for now and just see if it clogs up or not. Okay, well, we needed to input a bunch of sodium hydroxide, which can be done right there. And I'm not sure if our factory will have a good enough output of this. We'll have to see how it works. But there's a nice output. Let's hook up the aluminum. Looks like some of these are missing. Kind of hard to tell, but there it goes. Now we definitely need our 2 belts of aluminum. And it looks like it's catching up. I'm just going to leave this right here so we don't have to move that connection. And we can go up and in. This should be the last thing. And now this should run. Seems pretty good. It's a nice solid 3 belts of output. On these, it might help to have stack inserters on the very end. And near ones right there. Pretty close. And the sodium hydroxide is disappearing. It's making lots of requests though. And these are running, but because of hydrogen being clogged, there's not much you can do, although it is a belt. A solid belt going in there. So perhaps it's actually fine. It just needs a red belt. Just let the car go. I want to just look at that. Not completely solid belt, but 8 belts of random colors. Well, it seems to be working. Our levels are looking pretty good. Aluminum is low, but it's making what it can. And we're probably going to nuke it. There's the car just crashed into the forest. With this setup here, because it's a new setup, let's put some extra drones in there just to make sure there's enough. There we go. That ought to help. But this looks like it's going pretty good. Look at all of that. So let's see it get used. There we go. It's running both sides because it's not quite at 40,000 there. But these are all running. Constantly filling this up. Getting there. Okay. Well, we've got some changes to do to how these resources are delivered, because we no longer want to use this one. And in fact, I think I'll just pick the whole thing up. Because it's not aligned correctly anymore anyway. Here's the new setup. Let's see, is aluminum plate a good name? No, we want to call it coil now. And as far as everything else, these numbers still apply. So now if we check LTN, we have aluminum sheet coils on the network, and we're requesting aluminum plates. So now we need to modify any existing system requesting plates. And there's kind of 2 ways to do it. One, the hard way, is to change all of these setups that are requesting aluminum to the aluminum coil and then put in the necessary machines to chop up the coils. However, that's kind of annoying. So a easier solution is to just request the coils and then have a series of machines here chopping them up into plates before it gets on the bus, so the bus can just operate normally. And I think that's the easy way. So with an existing setup, that's fine, but with new setups, you definitely don't want to be not using coils, because then eventually this will be a problem. So it's kind of questionable doing it like this, but we know that it's already fine as far as speed is concerned with this belt. So it'll work. It's mainly the future you have to worry about. But that's why I wanted to get all this stuff upgraded first. Ah, there's no way through here. So there's just less of this that we have to deal with in the future. Ah! Didn't get on the road right. There we go. So if there's ever a band-aid that you have to rip off, the sooner you rip it off, the better it's going to be. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it now. I want to switch to coils. Now I am leaving the setup. After all, it was just built. It would be kind of annoying to rebuild it. already. So let's just do the easy way. And we do have a little bit of room in here for machines. So let's just calculate this, where we want to have aluminum plates from coils. We want to have an output of 30, which requires 5 machines, but we want to get our productivity in there, which increases it to like 11. So can 11 fit in here? Well, we can make it fit if we just put these machines somewhere else. So let's see, do we get any special reach with these? Kind of, if we're willing to give up an inserter slot in the middle of these. We can actually do 3 across now, where it goes in on one side, and probably should move this a little bit. And actually yellow would be fine. And then out on the other. So yellow goes in, and the red goes out. We're going to need a bunch of these, and it is kind of blocking stuff in a way, but also not really, because no station would fit right here because these are in the way. So the next one would probably have to be like down here. So this is actually kind of okay being here. And these last 2 machines should probably have some stack inserters on here to max out the belt. Then they would go forward. I believe this is the correct belt right there. And then the input will go in there. Well, let's throw our productivities in here, which is another good reason of going to coils, because that just helps our factory use even less aluminum than it was before. So hopefully all of these different setups, improving our aluminum usage and also silicon, will add up to a significant amount. Well, now we can request coils instead of plates. So we just come in here, get rid of it, and say we want negative 256 stacks of coils. It's not quite maxed out now. It looks like... Ah. That's a yellow belt right there, which should probably not be. And there's the aluminum request. So there we go. Speed it up again. In the end, it still may not be enough. That logistically it might be difficult keeping this filled up, but it looks like that's what it needed. Yep. Because now it's filling up. And that's filling up as well. And the system's actually doing pretty good. That aluminum is going down a little bit. But right now, the only method producing aluminum is the ideal way. So it's actually not nuking the aluminum. That it's kind of holding up. And nickel continues to go down. It will go down a significant amount once we've got a new bus and we're building all of the various tiers of machines and tanks and everything that uses nickel. It goes into like storage tanks and trains, vehicles, that kind of thing. In fact, we can always search it. So it doesn't go into everything, but the things that it does go into, you definitely need it. So mining drills, burner heat source, Mark II locomotives and all of that, storage tanks, the gun turrets, and of course, science. So we will eventually go through that, but I'm really happy to see that the number is going down. So finally, the nickel apocalypse is over. That we will slowly catch up. And that's not all of it. You might think, oh, we have 60,000 to work our way through. Like, well, no. There were these too. So that's like another 40,000-ish. That's just sitting here. That needs to be processed as well. But once we go through all of that, then yes, we'll be good. How is that oxygen doing? It looks like it is doing okay. Still severely maxed out on hydrogen. So it looks like rather than having a hydrogen bus, like here where hydrogen goes everywhere, that it needs to be processed at every location that produces it as a byproduct. The concept is similar to how these ore washers are working, to where we could put all of these liquid byproducts on a bus, but the problem is it would max out the pipes rather easily. So instead, the wastewater is all produced on site, so those logistics are less of a problem. So we just have to keep in the back of our minds for any future builds that hydrogen needs to be handled in the same way. And aluminum is also being used on our circuit bus, but because we still have 34,000 of it here, there's kind of no point to even worrying about that until it's actually gone through all of that, because if we pick up all those plates, we're going to have to put them somewhere. You can turn them into plates from coils, but you can't go the other direction. So it's already where it needs to be in the base, so there's kind of no point into moving it. And LTN will start whining at us if it's making an aluminum request that it can't fill. So we don't have to worry too much about that. And still doing great on crystals. And I noticed that we're moving, so coils are about to be delivered. And I think this is pretty much the only place we need to worry about this for now. That we'll worry about any other setup running out of aluminum when that becomes relevant. But this is part of the reason why I didn't want to just hook up aluminum to everything. Because I kind of knew that we would be doing something like this, and I didn't want to have to change the entire factory to upgrade to coils. So this minimizes the amount of work we need to do. It all seems pretty close to maxed out. So that aluminum is going to get shot back into the system and start producing more science. So that's looking good. From here, I would like to upgrade any other instance where the factory is currently running on the plate version when there is a coil version available that we can research. That way, when we build our new bus, we can just go with the most efficient coils and we won't have to worry about rebuilding stuff in the future. But that's going to have to wait till the next episode. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.